go eat first, then.
All of my waters. Important. In the crowd. Yeah, peace, peace. Uh-huh. Let me tell you what I believe. Peace, peace, and love. That's my anthem right there, baby. I ain't gotta be broke no more. I ain't even gotta sell dope no more. I ain't gotta go see a PO no more. I ain't even gotta be in court no more. It ain't no place for me, you hear me? Ain't no place for me, baby. That's one of the realest joints out here, man. I'm feeling that joint, man. That's my anthem right there, baby. Real. Peace and love, peace and love. How's everybody doing? It's your brother Isaiah tapping in with another one for all the conscious brothers and sisters in the conscious community, keeping the struggle because we know that it's through this struggle that we grow. Also, I would like to say that it is a slow process for progress and that the race is never to those that are swift. It's always to those that remain dutiful and stay studious in this journey. And as you know, I don't offer legal advice. I'm not a legal counsel, an attorney, or any of those fictitious titles. I am your brother. I share with you education, information about the things that I've learned, my walks, my travels throughout my journey called life. I like to extend these honors to you. So when we honor each other, man, it's the best thing that we can do. I like to give adorations to the Most High, the hidden temple of my life. I like to extend that same love, courtesy, and acknowledgement to his messengers and prophets. Peace to you and grand rising to all of those that are awakened in this day and time. Today, I'm gonna be going over a few different things. All right, but I want to start with the Uniform Commercial Code, right? As you should know by now, we are in commerce. Okay, uh, the laws of the sea have came upon the land. You got the law merchant, you got contractors, you got mortgagers, you got all these different entities that then came upon the land to bring commercial warfare against the civil rights of the people of this land. Okay. So they're warned against us through commercial warfare. Commercial warfare is when, matter of fact, let me show it to you real quick. Because this is things that we need to know because we don't even know what the war we fighting. We don't even know what we fighting. Okay. And I'm gonna just show you because you got to know what we actually fighting against, right? So they're warning against our civil rights using commercial law. They're using business contracts, agreements, and they're using the laws of the sea, which are commercial merchant, which operate under certain particular rules and regulations. And if you don't follow the law merchant correctly, you can lose property, you can lose your children, you can lose a lot of things. Commercial warfare refers to the use of economic measure to weaken an opponent economic economy. My bad. So that's what they did. They came in to the Americas and they wanted to weaken the American economy, right? So they came in with these tactics like trade restrictions and sanctions, right? To where when we issue an asset, we supposed to, like the Bible say, whatever you put into the atmosphere should come back to you tenfold. But when we put a lease into the atmosphere, we never receive the value back. When we put a mortgage into the system, we never receive that value back in exchange. We have to do something in order to receive that value. These are war type tactics that these people put in play in order to war against us using military strategies in order to basically prevent us from being able to have things that we desire or to put us in a position to where we are always subjugated, right? Now, abuse or threatened abuse of law of legal process, right? This is one of the main things that they use in order to induce you to performance of a contract. The term abuse, threatened abuse of a legal process, okay, we know what that is. It means the use or the threatened use of law or legal process. So when they say, if you don't pay this mortgage, we're going to take your house. Okay, if you don't do that, we're going to lock you up for non-payment of child support, arrears, all those different things. These are military tactics. Okay, this is what the military uses in its tactics in order to basically deal with criminals and things like that. Right? Check this out. So they're using military warfare against the people in civil matters, right? Check it out. I can't make it up. Of law, legal process, when administrative, civil, or criminal, in any manner, for any purpose, and for which the law does not design. See, the law is not designed to war against you. The law is designed to ensure you, to protect you. The Constitution grants us protection in our papers and all of our in our person and all of our papers. So protection is security. Okay. So if you're granted security or a right, you're supposed to have protection, and security interest is what secures you. But if somebody's attacking that interest, somebody's withholding that interest, somebody's manipulating you in reference to the interest, then of course you're gonna seem like you living a hard life, right? The term appropriated congressional committee means the Committee on Foreign Relations and committees on the Senate and the Committee on Foreign Affairs and the Committee on Judiciary of the House of Representatives. The term coercion means threat or serious harm to physical restraint against a person. Any scheme or plan, pattern intended to cause a person to believe that failure to perform an act will result in serious harm or physical restraint against a person, or the abuse or threatened abuse of a legal process, right? So this is called coercion. Whenever somebody's trying to make you feel like you owe rents to them, or you're supposed to be, if you don't pay me those rents directly, I'm going to take you, I'm going to put in to have you kicked out. And things like all that is coercion because they're trying to force you to do something that's already been done, right? Commercial sex means any sex act on account of which anything of value is given or received by any person, right? All right, so if you receive something of value from a company, right? Say a lease, and the lease is $50,000 lease. All right. Now, when you sign that lease, the company says that they loaned you $50,000 and you owe them $50,000 back for them extending credit to you in the form of a lease. All right. If you sign that lease, you're accepting the $50,000, but you're also promising to pay the same amount back. Now, if the extension of the lease was from from them to you was considered as an extension of credit to where you're now liable for $50,000 because you signed something that was extended to you and then you extended it right back to the other party with your approval to pay it, and they did not process those payments in accordance to the approved order that you issue. So you got to remember, a debt is a promissory note, but a debt is also an approved order once it's issued. When I sign it, when I receive it, I'm promising to pay. When I deliver it back to them, that's an issue. That's called issuing the order. So the order came to me. I had to sign to receive the order first and be bound by my order by signing my order, which made me bound to pay it. Tender of payment is a delivery from one person to another. So if I deliver the same back to him with my signed promise on it, meaning my signed signature approving. See, when you sign, when you receive an item and you sign it, that's considered as acceptance. When your signature is on an item that you issue, that's called tender. Let me say it again, just in case you don't catch it, because they're playing deceptive acts and practices, okay? When you receive an instrument and you sign it, that's acceptance. That becomes a promise to pay. As long as it's in your hand, you're promising to pay that amount because it's still in your possession and you have signed and promised to pay it. Once your signature is placed on it and it becomes a promise to pay, and then you issue it as a bearer instrument, that's a tender of payment. Tender of payment is an instrument payable to the bearer. So if you sign a note that became payable to you as the promiser, and then that same note with your signed signature on it, what you're promising to pay is issued, that issue of that promise is considered as tender. So every time we sign something and give it back, we're tendering the value. We're making payment, okay? Understand that. Now, somebody could be withholding payment from you due to vexatious delay of payment, deception, whatever they do in order, because every agreement tells you how much is due to you. It tells you the dates that the amounts are due to you, when you're supposed to be receiving your amounts. We're in a credit-based system. We're not debtors. Everything that you consider as a debt is credit that you should acknowledge that the lender owes you. They've been tricking us with the language, making us believe that an amount due is what we owe them, when really it's what they owe us. Okay? You got to understand what I'm telling you, right? These people playing on your intelligence. All right? So trafficking in persons, right, is when they make a man or a woman liable as a person or as a taxpayer. All taxpayers are legal entities. Every taxpayer I know of is an individual taxpayer. An LLC is a taxpayer. A partnership is a taxpayer. A corporation is a taxpayer. A trust is a taxpayer. A civics club is a taxpayer. And I can just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. When did a man, a flesh and blood man, become an actual taxpayer? Meaning he might wear a taxpayer. He might wear a taxpayer in a legal capacity, acting as a taxpayer, but you got to understand the duality of persons, right? Now check this out. So, where was I at? All right. Trafficking is when anytime somebody receives your personal property and in exchange for your personal property, they put you in bondage and make you subservient to them by controlling your property and using it against you in the means to make you liable for the obligations of another. The term debt bondage, that's what this is. It means the status and the conditions of a debtor arising from a pledge by the debtor. So you ended up in bondage. Why? Because you pledged a contract. You pledged a mortgage. You pledged a lease agreement, a rental agreement. You pledged some type of obligation, which was considered an item of value. The reason why the item is considered as an item of value, you put in an application for it. Usually, when something holds a particular value, you have to apply for it, meaning you have to give something in exchange to receive something of value. So, in exchange for a loan agreement, they want an application, which is the total same amount of that loan agreement. If I want an installment contract, I can put in a request to an application for the total amount I'm requesting. So I'm giving them an instrument worth the amount that they're actually providing me with. It's like a swap exchange. The application is exchanged for the loan. The application is exchanged for whatever. So the application is the exchange measure in order to receive funds. Okay. So debt bondage is the status or the condition of a debtor. So the status of your debt and the condition of the debtor arising from his pledge by the debtor of his or her personal services. So wait a minute. So you're the one providing the services, okay? You're the one pledging services, agreements, credits. You're the pledger, all right? So whenever you pledge as a debtor of your personal services or of those of a person under his or her control, well, why would it say this? I thought a man was a debtor, all right? But it says, or a person under his or her control, because once a man or a woman comes to the full realization that they are wearing a legal, they are acting as a taxpayer, they realize that acting as a taxpayer is just like being a spirit inside a body. The spirit controls the body. Acting as a taxpayer, the flesh controls the record. So it's the exact same thing. In flesh, I'm man. On record, I'm taxpayer, right? In reality, I'm flesh. No, in reality, I appear as a man, but in in essence, I'm a spirit. Okay. So whenever the debtor pledges services of his that are under his personal control as security for a debt, if the value of those services are reasonably assessed, is not applied toward the liquidation. So what they're saying is, if you pledge, all right, say you apply for a lease, all right, and the lease comes, you receive a $50,000 lease, and when you receive the lease has a pre-scheduled payment of rents already scheduled in it, meaning it's already all the way into the lease is fully paid off. It already got the dates, the amounts, and everything. The reason why it's like that is because that's what the lender is supposed to apply, meaning this is a prepaid instrument, right? And all they need in order to liquidate it is somebody to sign it and deliver it. I can't make it up, yo. All they need is somebody to sign and deliver the instrument back to them with value. Value is the signed signature, which also acts as a form of acceptance, but it also authenticates a record. To authenticate is to approve, okay? Hold on, let me show you. Let me show you, because I don't believe, brother, I just don't believe in all of that. Hey, I gotta show you. I gotta prove that what I'm saying is true. Let me show you. We'll get back to that. Okay. Okay. So when we let me help you out, okay? And y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, please, because it's too many of you guys that come on building better minds. You want to be built a better mind for you and your family, but you won't even subscribe to our channel. You just want to come in and buzz out, man. Stop it with the nonsense. Y'all need to start subscribing to the channel and sharing the information out with other people. Don't you understand who I am and what I'm producing to the atmosphere? If you are blind, you must be blind. You must not have sight. Or you must be that damn selfish that you can't even realize when somebody's doing the work of the creator, when the creator has put his hand on a person and given a person sight in order to deliver. See, you don't want to see it for what it is, but years from now, you'll be able to see who I really am, and you'll be able to thank me for what I've done for you and many others. Okay, even though you don't want to give consideration, you don't want to push a like button, or you don't want to share a video so other people can get the same information that you so eagerly, desperately run into my channel to listen to. Because if it wasn't that damn important, you wouldn't be on this live right now. If you didn't feel that I was somebody that had something worthy to be heard, you would not be on my live right now. If you on my live right now, it's because you recognize who I am and you recognize what I do and what I bring to the table. Now it's your turn to give the same, man, to show the same respect, love, and courtesy that we supposed to do. Y'all got to give flowers what flowers do. Don't hate because you didn't get chosen, or you ain't the one to deliver the message to the people, or you weren't chosen to overall see things that I'm being able to see and deliver things that I'm being able to deliver. Tap in with me, get on the same board with me and build with me. Be a brother, be a sister to a brother. And stop being a hater. Stop being envious. Stop trying to outdo or see if you can take it and teach it better. All the stuff that a lot of y'all do, man, is ludicrous. It's uncalled for. I'm not your enemy. I'm not the one you're supposed to be warned against, thinking deceptively about. You're supposed to be looking at the people that we warn against. We on the same team, man. If you ain't willing to help me help others, if you ain't willing to like my videos, share out my stuff, who the hell are you? And why the hell are you even on this live? You don't even deserve to be here. Period. That's real talk. Because I'm changing lives with the information I bring out. And if you can't share this with your family member, you can't share this with a cousin. I don't give a damn if they look at the video or not. Just share the damn live out. Just go hit the share and share it with some people you know, and then put a message. Say, hey, look, y'all need to watch this. I'm asking you, please watch this video. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. You know, anything. Just share the information out. Give people an opportunity to learn. Y'all so quick to just discredit people. Oh man, ain't nobody gonna want to. I don't want to deal with them people. You know, share the information, man. Just share it on your page so other people can see that something is going on. So somebody might see you share something and tap into it, and now they done learned something that's life changing. Now you done took another one that was in the dark. Now he came to the light. Okay. So the legal definition of authenticate refers to the process of proving or verifying the authenticity of an item, such as evidence in the court, to establish that it is genuine and relevant to the case at hand, right? All right, so it means to prove or verify the authenticity of an item, ensuring that it is genuine, okay? So, so when we go back to the term debt, bondage means the status of the condition of a debtor arising from the pledge by the debtor of his personal services. So whenever the debtor pledges a contract, an agreement, the value of that agreement can put the debtor in debt if he don't understand the value behind his pledge. Okay. So, or an entity that he's controlling, it could be an LLC, it could be a trust. Anytime you're pledging property of an entity that's under your control, as security, I think that this is the most important aspect of everything in this paragraph. Right here, if you can understand just this part right here, it can really change things, because when you give a debt instrument for any taxpayer, anytime you're acting for a taxpayer and you sign an instrument for a taxpayer, actually what you're doing is you're giving that instrument to that company as a security for the taxpayer's debt. You're giving it something equivalent to the amount the taxpayers owes. The amount the taxpayer owes is written in the security that you're giving. The taxpayer owes 50,000. The security is the equivalent of that 50,000 being delivered against the taxpayer and approved by you, authenticated by you, the officer who has the rights to approve that the taxpayer order be processed and given to a lender to process an order. If the lender overpays or overcharges, you got to dispute that shit because he's overcharging you, right? If the value of those services are reasonably assessed is not applied, what do you mean? Assessed, it's acknowledged. That's why you acknowledge and accept and let the lender know, hey, I accept these amounts due to me for my account. And I authorize that they be applied toward the liquidation of the installment loan, the liquidation of the lease, the liquidation of whatever you trying to liquidate. You see how I took the definition of debt bondage and showed you how this is your remedy? The same thing putting you in bondage is the same thing that delivers you. So in the definition of debt bondage is the remedy of the bondage. If you can read it, like I just read it and showed you that debt bondage is something that should have been liquidated. But it didn't get liquidated. And because it didn't get liquidated, then guess what? Somebody end up in a continuing obligation. So that means that the obligation continues on a month-to-month basis because it should have been discharged at the time of entering the agreement, meaning all the values necessary for the liquidation were present. So why didn't it get liquidated? See, right here, assessed and is not applied toward the liquidation of the debt or the lent. And the nature of those services are not respectively limited and defined. All right. Involuntary servitude includes a condition of servitude induced by means of any scheme, plan, or pattern. Now, why are we talking about involuntary servitude? Because I don't know one man or woman that would voluntarily put themselves in debt bondage. What about you? Would you voluntarily go in debt? Let us be real. When you go and you apply for a loan, are you applying for credit? Or are you planning to be in bondage? It's just a simple question. I'm here to make you think, man. I'm just trying to make you think because a lot of times we're not thinking, and that's the problem. That's a real big problem with society today. It's a whole bunch of people in the world that don't think for themselves and want other entities and government to think for them, but the government is not thinking for you correctly. As you can see with Corona, they lied to millions and killed thousands and thousands of people, man, on a social experiment. But when it came out, they didn't say it was an experiment. They made it seem like it was an actual real, but the whole time it was an experiment. You see, that's evil. That's wicked. You playing on our intelligence for it. So debt bondage is whenever you pledge value and the value of that pledge puts you in debt. All right, involuntary servitude is whenever whoever is in the contract with you schemes or plans or pattern intend to cause a person to believe that if the person did not enter into or continue in such condition that the person or another person would suffer serious harm or physical restraint. Now, Brother Isaiah, can you explain to the people why is paragraph A so important about involuntary servitude? Well, let Brother Isaiah shed a little bit of light of what the divine creator has bestowed upon me. Okay, so the divine creator is telling me that the scheme, the plan, and the pattern intended to cause you to believe that if you didn't perform or you didn't pay, that you would lose your house, your car, or home. The reason why it's considered as involuntary servitude, because when you pledge your services or your debt or your lease, you were pledging it as a security for the debt. See, they didn't tell us that. They didn't tell us when we signed a car contract that when we give it back to them, that we're giving it back as a security against the debt, to pledge it against all obligations generating from that debt. See what I'm saying? So every instrument you receive is a security against the obligation owed to the lender. So the lender is providing you with an instrument that can be used as security to settle the obligation, even though the same security is stating you owe is the same thing used to settle what you owe. Very so involuntary servitude is whenever you receive that security, sign and accept it and authenticate it, and then pledge it back to the lender, and then he puts you in involuntary servitude, demanding that you pay it and telling you that if you don't pay it, he's going to take your house. He's going to take your car. He's going to put you in jail when the security was pledged against all the debt obligations of the lender. So basically, he's receiving payment against all of the charges that is due to him by you providing the security to him that can be used as security against all of the obligations generating from it. But instead of him, right, liquidating that security in accordance to the amounts that are due to be liquidated. So what do I mean by liquidation? Let me help you out. Because we're going to talk today. And y'all going to give Brother Isaiah y'all going to give me some love, man. Y'all going to stop playing with me, man. Because y'all gotta show up and show out for the brother, man. I do a lot for y'all, man. And y'all don't want to give me come on, man. When you going to show up and show out for me? I show up and show out for y'all all the time. I get on this thing and I show up and I show my ass all the time. Y'all don't never show up and show out for me. When y'all gonna start showing me some love and showing me that you truly appreciate me? When I start looking online and I see somebody that shared my stuff, or like, come on, bro, y'all gotta get better, man. Y'all ain't showing love correctly, man. Like for real. What was I finna do? Let me see. Voluntary too. All right, I know what I was finna do. Okay. So in order for you to understand commerce, you got to really be into commerce. Liquidation is the process of closing a business by selling its assets to pay off debts. Wait a minute. Now, what is liquidation? It's closing a business transaction by selling the asset to pay off any debt incurred by the business. So whenever the business incurs a debt, an asset is issued to one of the officers to pledge as security against the entity's debt. But it ain't being taught right? With any remaining asset distributed to the shareholders, right? This process can be voluntarily or forced. When we just reading about involuntary servitude, where I was teaching you about debt bondage, when you pledge something and then automatically you end up in debt, right? All right, this can be you can voluntarily accept paying for your own pledges of your own services, or you could demand credit for the pledge of your services, right? Forced often occurs during bankruptcy proceedings. So it's either voluntary or it's a forced obligation, right? So liquidation, it either happens voluntarily, where they liquidate, or it has to be forced, where somebody has to claim and demand that something be liquidated, right? Liquidation is another word for paid. To liquidate means to pay, okay? Understanding the legal framework surrounding liquidation is essential. Liquidation refers to the formal winding up of a company's affairs, overseen by a liquidator, right? So when we wind up the affairs, we gather up all the amounts due, all the amounts payable, and we call that the principal. Okay, we gather up the principal and interest for liquidation. Okay, for liquidation, the liquidator is the one you provide the note to, who we call the holder. The holder is the liquidator. The holder is the liquidator. Purposes. The main goal is to collect assets, determining outstanding claims, and satisfy those claims according to legal priority. So they're supposed to be collecting assets, right? and determining the outstanding claim. So if I receive a bill is tied to an asset, and as long as I can identify the bill as money pertaining to an asset that I issue for my own personal usage, I can claim that bill as an unpaid balance that has not been credited to me as a consumer good, and demand and dispute the bill in error, and adjust the accounting to reflect the negative balance to adjust the books, because we are in it. You got to understand what's going on. Okay. Assets are distributed to creditors and shareholders based on claim priority. So when you put in an application, you are a shareholder of that taxpayer. So when I go and I apply for a lease, I'm a shareholder. The taxpayer is the principal debtor. The name party in the lease is my taxpayer, or my government name is the main party stated in the agreement that's responsible. That's me, but that's me acting as a taxpayer. That's not me as a man. So that is me responsible as a taxpayer. I'm responsible in my taxpayer capacity to pay or do a specific task. But as the man behind that taxpayer as identity, I'm holding shares. So when I hold a lease that's worth 50,000 in my taxpayer name, in my government name, then I'm holding shares of my government. My government has just been approved for shares, and as the shareholder, I'm holding those shares, and I have first claim and priority. First in line, first in time. Security interest is attached whenever you sign a contract. You don't believe me? Do you want Brother Isaiah to prove to you that whenever you sign a contract, you are acquiring a security interest? Security interest, first in line, first in time. So that means that if you are acquiring a security interest by signing a debt in the name of your account, and you acquire security interest, then that means that if you were to perfect that interest, then you will be the priority claim holder, meaning that a lien creditor's lien is unaffected to your perfected security interest in the same asset, meaning that if you can show that your interest, your security interest, is paramount in reference to his lien interest, then his lien don't have no effect against your title to the ownership over the same asset, right? Check it out. I can't make this up. All right. All right. So, in order to help you understand just a little bit better on everything that I've been talking about, understanding securities, right? With respects to an obligation on. So, whenever you are obligated on a lease, whenever you are obligated on a mortgage, whenever you are obligated on a rental agreement, whenever you are obligated on a service agreement, right? It don't matter what it is with respects to an obligation on or a defense to a security. So either it's your obligation or this is going to be your defense. So an issuer includes a person that places or authorizing the placing of his name on a security certificate. Now, I just want to stop right here. So when you place your signature on a security certificate, either that's going to be your obligation on that security or that's going to be your defense on that security. Okay. What determines whether it will be your obligation or your defense will be your capacity? Are you competent? Are you able to understand financial transactions? If not, you probably end up being a debtor. Why? Because you don't understand what's going on. All right. So it places the name or placing of the name on a security certificate other than an authenticating trustee. Let me explain that because some of y'all might not even know what this is. Authenticating trustee, and you still don't know what the hell they're talking about. You say, oh, is that talking about me? No. Authenticating trustee is the trustee that receives the agreement and authenticated once he receives it as proper. The register, it's a county register. Transfer agent, banks or any type like a financial agent. They're called transfer agent because what they do is they transfer rights and titles and property or the like, right? So as long as you're not like any of these guys right here, you're not like any of these guys, and you sign a security, well, let me tell you why you signed that. Let's make sure you understand why you signed that security. You're not a transfer agent. You're not a trustee, right? Not in that sense. And you're not a registrar, right? So when you sign any security for any taxpayer, it's to evidence a share. So how much shares do you have? How much is the asset worth? You're participating, right? So now that you know that that's your share, you are a shareholder and you're acquiring shares in your company's obligation. Your company is receiving an obligation, and as a shareholder, you get to acquire the shares for the company and to participate and acquire interest in its property or in the enterprise. It doesn't matter, to evidence your duty to perform the obligation represented by the security certificate. That's the only reason why you signing these contracts, bro. That's the only reason why you signing the lease agreement, bro. Come on now. You're not you signing it for your enterprise. Your what do we call it? Our government name. But it's really our government, our own enterprise. We all got our own government enterprise. And anytime your enterprise receives property and you sign, you are a person of interest, acquiring shares in that company's affairs that can be used to liquidate the company's obligations. And I can't make it up. I can't make it up. It creates a share, participation, or other interest in its property or in an enterprise or undertaking obligation that is uncertificated security. So if I sign a signature card for a bank, I'm acquiring an interest in my company in that account. Whether I claim it or not is something different, but it's there, right? Directly or indirectly creates a fractional interest. That's why the finance charge, meaning it is enforced directly by the lender and is payable directly or indirectly by the consumer. Why? Because every time you sign a contract, you create what's known as what? A security interest. The security acquires an interest when you sign. Your interest is attached. Your signature, your name represents your interest. Interest is anybody having an involvement in something. So once the debtor name is on the contract, he's a party of interest. The lender's name is on the contract. He's a party having a particular interest. Then once you sign your name, you also become a party acquiring an interest, okay? Becomes responsible for it, right? Ain't that what happened when you sign a debt? Don't you become responsible for it? Or in the place of another person described as the issuer in this section? Oh, wow. Or you stand in the place of the taxpayer. Because remember, you and the taxpayer are simultaneously related, right? With respects to an obligation on, right? Either this is your obligation on this mortgage, this is your obligation on this lease, this is your obligation on this rental agreement, this is your obligation on this service agreement, or this is your defense to the security, okay? You basically saying my signature on this instrument represents my defense as the guarantor is the issuer to the extent of its guarantee, whether or not the obligation is noted on the security certificate. With respects to a registration of a transfer, issuer means the person on whose behalf transfer books are maintained. Okay, so whenever a registration of a transfer, the registration of a transfer, what does that mean? Registration of a transfer is whenever you go and open up a new account. When you go open up a new account and they take your name, your date of birth, your address, that's registration. Why are they registering that information? Because they need you to transfer security to them to hold, right? So they register security through a registration process known as application, where they put all the information into the security to identify its owner or the one entitled to its value. And then they give it to an agent of that person to sign and authenticate it, and then return it back for processing. Okay. That's just how this works. So the person that they're transferring it for is the taxpayer. Okay. And make this stuff up, man. So that brings us back to what we were talking about, involuntary servitude. Involuntary servitude is when anybody schemes you into becoming liable for the obligations of the taxpayer when you already issued a security and pledged as or you issued an instrument as a security against all of the taxpayer's obligations. So if anybody bill you and say you owe, all you got to do is get a copy of that contract with your signature on it. That's your defense. That is your defense. Why? Because right here, why is that your defense? Because right here, man, I can't make it up. That's your defense. This right here tells you why you need to get a copy of that same debt instrument that they billing you for. And you need to what? You need to claim that the debt has been issued as a security, right? The instrument was issued as a security against the obligations owed for the accounting. All right. You need to demand payment. You need to demand that they credit the amounts that they credit the security received, that they received the security. You need to identify the security. You need to verify you are the owner or the one in possession, and you need to show the date that you transferred it. And you need to demand that they credit or liquidate that obligation. Okay? You need to demand that. That's your right to have it liquidated. And that falls within SJR 192. Right? Now, let me show you something real quick. Because you know, like Brother Isaiah, like I said, when I get here, I like to show up and I like to show out. You hear me? I like to show up and I like to show out. Okay? Check it out. Y'all make sure y'all better be sharing and doing all the stuff y'all supposed to be doing, man. Show the love, right? All right. Now, the UCC allows for the government to place a lien against the taxpayer's assets if they have unpaid taxes, enabling the government to secure its claim for tax debt. This process can involve various offsets, including the Treasury Offset Program, which allows for the withholding of payments to satisfy tax obligations. So, whenever you end up in default, you enter into a program known as the Treasury Offset Program. Okay. Whenever you're in the Treasury's offset program, you don't receive payments that are due to you. You get notifications of the amounts and the dates, but you never receive those amounts as credits because they're being offset, meaning you got to pay for those amounts. You're earning your rights to the credit by performance. Let me show you something real quick. I'm going to come back to this. Come back to this. All right. Now, of course, brother Isaiah, I ain't, I've been studying this stuff for long enough, man. I've been doing this shit for so long. This stuff is easy. It easy. You know what I'm saying? So let me show you something. Accession. It means goods that are physically united with other goods in such a manner that the identity of the original good is not lost. Let me explain what accession is. Accession is a monthly bill that identifies the original contract in which the bill is being issued from, meaning that the original bill was the mortgage, and every instrument issued from it identifies the mortgage as the instrument in which it's being issued from. That's called accession, that the original identity of the original item never gets lost, right? Which it identifies where it comes from. Now, account as used in account for means, except as used in account for, means a right to payment. So account actually means a right to receive payment of a monetary obligation. So if you have monetary obligations that are due every month for services being performed on your account, those monetary bills that you receive are payments, man. I can't make it up. Every month you receiving a payment. That's why the bill says that an amount is due and it got your legal name on it. They're trying to pay you. Okay? But they're using what's called, let me show you real quick. I gotta bring this home for you so you can understand, right? It's deception. Okay? And I'm your brother. And all I want to do is help you, right? Because that's what we're supposed to do. If I help you, you're supposed to help me. If I'm showing you stuff and I'm giving love to you, then you should want to show me love. You should want to hype me up. You should want to put my stuff out front because I'm helping you, man. I'm blessing you. And why you can't bless me back? Why you can't give me what I'm doing? If I'm showing you how to settle your obligations and I'm showing you how to deal with these people that's running all over your life and you can't even share a video for me? You can't hype me up? Not one time? Like, man, y'all some selfish, boy, y'all so selfish, bro. I can't make it up. All right. It says a bill of credit is the type of currency issued by a state, backed solely by the state's credit worthiness, right? So every bill that you get is already backed by the government. That's why it's already pre-computed and got a date that it's supposed to be applied, meaning that that's already backed by somebody, right? And intended to circulate as money. So a bill of credit is money. So those bills that you're receiving are circulating as due money. Okay. However, the U.S. Constitution forbids states from issuing such bills, right? Ensuring that only gold and silver coins can be used as tender for debt. So when they took away the gold and the silver standard from us, y'all, when they did that and they took away gold and they took away silver, right? As a lawful means to pay your debts with, right? They had to substitute it. They had to provide us with a way to pay because the people had value. We had money. We had gold. We had silver. When the government did the decree to collect it and took all the money, they put us in a what we call a disability. So every American has a disability right now. We are not able to pay our debts at law when they become due because we don't have actual gold and silver to pay with. So what the government did was they created a new constitution, subjugating the old constitution to get around other things that they were not supposed to do, because in the original constitution, there were no laws. No titles of nobility. You couldn't be judge, lawyer, none of that, and still be a citizen. The African Americans were not considered as citizens according to the 13th Amendment. A lot of things in that old constitution that forbid them from being able to do a lot of stuff that they're doing now. So they had to change it in order to give themselves an edge to do what they're doing. So when they came with the Organic Act of 1871, the District of Columbia Act, this created a new banking charter. When they created this new banking charter, it allowed them to issue new form of currency, which is drafts, notes, money orders. You get what I'm saying? Bills of credit, bills of exchange, and so forth and so on. So now every month you receive a bill of credit. Why? Because whenever there's a due obligation, the government is required to settle that obligation, right? Because it's a government obligation. So what the government do is it bills credit to each and every customer who is entitled to receive a balance from the government. You will receive a bill of credit showing how much credit you have been approved for that the government will finance or pay. Okay? That's what that is. It's called a bill of credit, right? So when we say an account means a right to payment of a monetary obligation, whether or not you earn it by performance, all right? Earn it by performance. Let's look up this title. I mean, just this phrase real quick. I'm gonna put legal definition because a lot of times phrases also have definitions to them. And if you don't start looking up phrases, you never know that they have definitions, right? I learned this from just studying and not being closed-minded. In legal terms, earned by performance refers to the fulfillment of an obligation under a contract, where one party completes their part of the agreement, thereby earning the benefits or compensation stipulated in the contract. This concept is crucial in contract law, as it ensures that the party receives what they are entitled to based on their performance. So basically, every amount due is yours. Every amount. I can't, man, listen. I can't make it up. Every amount. Hold up. Hold on my phone. Hello? Hello? Yeah. Okay. Every amount due is yours. Every amount. But whether or not you receive it is based off your performance. Your performance dictates whether or not you earn the rights to the amounts that are due to you. You got the rights to earn those amounts, right? Now let me show you. Let me go back real quick. Hold on, where was I? I'm about to pull it up again. I'm about to pull it up again. Okay. Go get your cousin. Go get your sister. Go get your auntie. Go get anybody that they tell you, boy, y'all be on that YouTube, TikTok stuff. Them people gonna get y'all locked up. Them people gonna get y'all in trouble. Go get one of them non-believers for me. Tell them Brother Isaiah got a message. Hurry up, go get him. I'm gonna wait for a minute. Get it. I want to read something to him. Okay? I just want to read something to him. If they can read, comprehend, then they should be able to understand. Okay? Please, I'm gonna give you a couple of more minutes. Let's wait. I should play a little something, but I'm gonna wait. We're gonna give him a little minute. We'll give him a chance. And we're gonna give him a chance. So now we understand. So we're dealing with bills of credit, right? An account means that you have a right to payment of a monetary obligation. So any obligation that you receive, you have a right to receive payment of it. That's why every bill you receive says amount due and it got your legal name on it. Now it should make sense. These are payments being provided to you every month, right? Whether or not you earn it by performance, whether or not you earn the right to receive the amount stated in the instrument by you paying it yourself. To earn by performance, right? Is when you perform under the contract in accordance to the agreement, and then the lender gives you what you've earned by performance for property that has been sold or is to be sold, leased, licensed, or assigned. So if you perform under a lease, right, a license, right, or any other instrument that's assigned or otherwise disposed of for services rendered or to be rendered, or a policy of insurance to be issued or to be issued, for a secondary obligation incurred or to be incurred, for energy provided or to be provided, for the use of a hire of a vessel, under a charter or other contract arising out of the use of a credit card or charges or information contained on or for the use of the card, as winnings in a lottery for a game of chance operated or sponsored by a state governmental unit, a state or a person licensed, authorized to operate the game by a state or governmental unit of a state. The term includes healthcare receivables. Didn't they tell you that your information was vital information, right? Don't it come from the Department of Health, Human Services? What human services do you think you're receiving? Huh? When you sign a contract, what human services are they providing to you? What healthcare benefits? Interest. Interest is the health of a man or a woman. Interest. Interest is what basically interest, healthcare, receivables, right? The term does not include a right to payment evidenced by chattel paper or an instrument, right? Commercial tort claim or deposit account investment, letters of credit or letters of credit, rights to payment for money or funds advanced or sold, other than a right arising out of the use of a credit or charge card or information contained for on the use of the card, right? And then right here, account debtor. Why you think you're the debtor? I truly don't understand why. Because when you go to the code, it says account debtor means the person obligated on an account. So when you look at the account, what name is on it? That name that's on there, that's the person that's liable. Just because the name is similar to yours and pronounced and spelt the same as yours, you got to pay close attention to the details of the name. A man's name is a proper noun. So if it's not properly identifying a man through a noun, then it's not speaking to you in flesh as flesh and blood. It's speaking to you in some other kind of capacity, all right, in which you may have an obligation or a duty against an account debtor. Account debtor is an account. That's why the key word is, you keep saying you a debtor, but in the code, it lists the debtor as an account. See that? It says account debtor. Don't say debtor. It says account debtor. So every time you create an account, you're creating an account for a debtor's account, an entity's account, right? It's the person obligated on the account. So the debtor, the account debtor, the name on the account is the debtor, the chattel paper, or general tangible. But the term does not include the person obligated to pay a negotiable instrument, even if the instrument constitutes part of the chattel paper. So the debtor is the name written in the instrument, not the one who signs it and tries to pay it. If you're the one signing under that government name, you are a secondary party. The government name is the principal, but you are the one authorized to act with the principal. You're acting through your legal capacity. The principal identity is the debtor. Okay. When you go to court, they don't know who you are when you walk in there. They only know the record that they look at when they call the case. The record is the debtor, not you. You're the user of that record. You're the only one who can sign for the record. You're the only one authorized to sign, transfer, or benefit from the usage of John Henry Doe. And in any party misrepresenting you or trying to get you to identify yourself in reference to your personal property and identification in which you use in commerce is committing a deceptive act. My identity and me as a woman are wanted or wrapped up in the same, but we're not the same person, meaning my identity supersedes me as a record that supersedes who I am. And that record is managed by me at all times. I'm the manager of my own records, right? Accounting, except as an account for, means, listen, accounting. It means authenticated by a secure party. Hold up. Y'all see that? Authenticated. So when you do an accounting, you've authenticated a record and you are the party secured by the record. Now look, let's check this out. word. Oh, look, where did it go? Where did it go? I opened up so many windows. Anyway, what I was going to show you was what I showed you earlier. Let me see. All right, remember this right here. Remember when I said on debt bondage? Remember when I showed you that bondage is when the status or the conditions of a debtor, the debtor is an account debtor. Remember, I just showed you that. That whenever you see that word debtor, it's talking about your account. Okay. Debtor is another word for account debtor, arising from the pledge by the debtor of his or her personal services, or of those of a person under his or her control as security for a debt. So whenever the debtor pledges property, he's pledging it as security to settle his obligation, not to pay toward the security. The security is the payment toward the debt. So when you issue the mortgage, the lease, the license, that is the payment. And the amounts due is what you expect to receive for the payment you issued. You're supposed to be receiving those payments on that instrument, meaning they supposed to what? Liquidate that. Every amount due is a liquidated amount that's already been pledged and assigned by you. Remember, I showed y'all earlier. Earlier I showed y'all authentication, right? Remember, we was talking about authentication, and I was showing you that when you authenticate a record, you accept the record, but you're also approving the record that it be issued. All right. So remember, I showed you the term issuer means either your defense on the security or it's either your obligation on the security. Remember, I showed y'all what an issuer was. Now, when we come here and it says accounting means and authenticated by a secured party, when you sign a debt instrument, you are authenticating that instrument to be paid, and you are the secured party. Right now, check it out. Indicating the aggregate unpaid secured obligations. Why? What is it saying? It's saying that accounting is when you receive an instrument and you sign it as the secured party, or has the rights to secure the debt. A secured party is somebody. Matter of fact, let's click on it. All right, it must be down below. All right, so as the party to secure the record, you sign the record in order to secure the record. The record indicating the aggregate unpaid secured obligations. So aggregate meaning that the total of the payments accumulate up to a certain amount of money a on a year basis. So each month it accumulates a certain amount, but the amount is not paid yet, right? It's an unpaid, but it's secured, right? Why? Because the amounts that are unpaid are already scheduled payments already, which make them secured obligations. They're obligations, but they're already secured. Why? Because they're already pre-scheduled to be applied toward the agreement, meaning the amounts due for the agreement are already pre-applied toward it, already written in it to be applied back to it. So you shouldn't have to do nothing. It's already written and disclosed to you in the agreement. Okay? It's already pre-paid, it's already pre-scheduled, everything, right? And it's aggregating the unpaid secured obligation because it's unpaid, but it's already secured because it's already pre-scheduled, meaning the lender, once he receives it, he has to pay it. As of the date, not more than 35 days earlier or 35 days later than the date of the record, identifying components of the obligation in reasonable detail, right? So basically, it's telling you, or Accounting is when you account for the record, when you acknowledge and accept the unpaid balance, identify it, right? Then it says authenticate, right? So when you get a bill in the mail, right? Let's go back. We're gonna make this work today. Y'all share, like, subscribe. Share, like, subscribe. Quit playing with me. Share, like, subscribe. Share, like, subscribe. Quit playing. All right. Let's get on it. Let me see them likes go up. Share, like, subscribe. I'm dropping real Jews today. I'm dropping real Jews. I'm helping you understand. Share, like, subscribe. Thank you. Okay. Now we go back. Accounting. I want you to pay attention. Accounting means a record, but the record has to be what? Authenticated by somebody. And when that record is authenticated, it has to what? It has to indicate the amounts, no more than 30 days earlier or 30 days after. Identify the components and all of the products and goods, right? Now, when we go down, that's accounting. Authenticate. It means to sign with the present intent to adopt or accept the record, or to attach to or logically associate with the record an electronic sound. What is an electronic sound? An EFT, right? Symbol or process, right? So if accounting is something that's authenticated by somebody that has not been paid, identifying all the components of that instrument, right, to be paid, and authenticate is how you adopt this accounting record that's not paid. In order for you to adopt that record to pay it, you got to what? Authenticate it, right? And then you got to what? Attach or logically associate to the record some kind of sound, symbol, or process, right? Now, all right, so certificate of title. Go this, right? All right, before I go there, I'm gonna go here. All right, so the bank includes bank saving associations. So if you got a saving account, then that's a savings association. All right. Cash proceeds means proceeds that are money. Check deposit accounts. Proceeds are what proceeds a order. So if you sign a promissory note and every month you receive statements from that note that you sign, those are cash proceeds. Proceeds are billing statements, invoices, anything like that. Those are considered as cash proceeds. Certificate of title is what generates cash proceeds. The certificate of title is the original document that identifies all the proceeds that are applicable toward the note that have not been paid yet, right? So a certificate of title means the certificate of title with respects to which a statute provides for a security interest in question to be indicated on the certificate as a condition or as a result of a security interest obtaining priority over the rights of a lien creditor with respects to the collateral, right? The term includes another record maintained as an alternative to a certificate of title by a governmental unit that issues certificates of title if the statute permits the security interest in question to be indicated on the record as a condition on or a result of a security interest obtaining priority over the rights of a lien creditor with respect to such collateral. So a certificate of title would be an installment loan contract, which is a certificate of title to the interest, the financing, and the car, right? Which has been pledged to the borrower as a document of title, to where the borrower is receiving that document as his title which is his rights to the amounts stated in the instrument, right? And the lien creditor's lien against any collateral in his certificate of title, right, doesn't have priority over the certificate of title, meaning that if the debtor was to do the right thing with the certificate of title, it will stand over the creditor's the lien creditor's interest that he has in the same title. Now, chattel paper means a record or records that evidence both a monetary obligation and a security interest in specific goods. A security interest in specific goods and software is used in goods, and a security interest in specific goods and license of software used in the goods, a lease of specific goods or a lease of specific goods and license of software used in the goods, right? In this paragraph, monetary obligation means monetary obligation secured by the goods or owed under a lease of goods and includes a monetary obligation, right, with respects to the software used in the goods. The term does not include chattel or other contracts involving the use of a hire of a vessel. Records that evidence a right to payment arising out of the use of a credit card or charge card information contained on the card. Right? So a chattel paper is also considered as money. Okay. It's considered as money. So let me stop right there. All right. So let me look at my comments real quick. See if any comments. I'm doing I'm gonna do a live where I open up my floor for court questions, where we're gonna do a open court section where it's gonna be a live open session where you can ask any question about court. If you have court situations going on and you want to deal with those situations, I'll be doing an open live about that where I'll be answering any questions we can. Okay, okay, okay. I see y'all ain't really got too many, and nobody really saying too much of nothing for real, for real. I'm gonna show y'all one more thing before I go. Yeah, when if you're not the one disrespectful, if you're not disrespecting me, then don't worry about it. Period. It only when you throw a bone or stone, it only should hit the one that it applies to. If you know that you share the information, if you know that you are a full supporter of what Brother Isaiah is laying down, it shouldn't even bother you when I say, if you're not supporting me, if you're not, it shouldn't even bother you because you're a supporter. It should only bother those individuals that don't support, that don't help, that don't issue out share the videos. If you're doing that, you should you would look right past it. It don't even bother me. I share stuff all the time. So don't worry about it. If it's not you, don't worry about it. Only that information is being sent out to those individuals who know who they are. Okay. You might have some, you might feel you can't speak for everybody. You can only speak for yourself. Okay. Oh yeah, I can see 37 people here. I know how many people is in the is on the live, but I'm on three different platforms. So everybody that's in here is probably coming from different platforms, right? And watching from different platforms. But I see that it's 37 people because if I was on any other platform, it'd probably be way more people. But I see who all in there. Trust me. let me okay. I want to read something for y'all real quick before I go. As a matter of fact, let me see. Okay. Hold up, y'all. Give me a second to find what I'm looking for. What you say? Okay. All right. So, like I say, brother Isaiah, I got that heat over here. I ain't playing with y'all, man. Brother Isaiah, I got that fire over here. I can't make it up. I can't make it up. Okay. Definitions. In this act, unless the content otherwise indicate absentee means a person of whom the master, after inquiry, believes that his whereabouts are unknown and that he has no legal representative in the republic. Accounting. Acts of insolvency means an act of insolvency in the terms of the Section 8 of the Insolvency Act. If I was you, I go look that act up. If I was you, that's all I can tell you. Okay, administrator, right? Administrator. Go down some. Executor means any person who is authorized to act under the letters of executorship granted or signed and sealed by the master or under an endorsement made under Section 15, right? So I'm gonna have to go. Let me go to another one. This is a good one. I want to pull up another one real quick. Let me pull up. That can't be it. Okay. All right, y'all. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this act. It's called the Factors Act. Okay. Put that in your uh list of acts that you've learned from Brother Isaiah. In this act, unless the content otherwise requires, a document of title includes a bill of lading, a dock warrant, warehouse keeper's certificate, and a warrant or order for the delivery of goods, and any other document used in the ordinary course of business as proof of possession or control of goods, or authorizing or purporting to authorize, either by endorsement or by delivery, the possessor of the document to transfer or receive goods thereby represented, right? So a document of title is one that's authorizing or purporting to authorize one by either endorsement and delivery to the possessor of the document to either transfer the goods or receive the goods represented thereby. Goods include wares and merchandise, right? Wares and merchandise or instruments, right? Mercantile agent means an agent having in his customary course of his business as such agent authority to sell goods or to consign goods for the purposes of sale, or to buy goods, or to raise money on the security of goods. A pledge, remember we was reading about this earlier, includes any contract pledging. So whenever you sign over a contract, you're pledging or giving a lien or security on goods, whether in consideration of an original advance or of a further or continuing advance of or of any pecuniary liability. A person shall be deemed to be in possession of goods or of the document of title to goods, where the goods or the document are in his actual custody or held by another person subject to his control or for him on his behalf. So when you sign the mortgage, you are the one holding the mortgage, right? You are the holder of the obligation, and the assignee is holding it on your behalf. Anybody, any lender holding a note is holding it on your behalf. You are the actual holder, okay? You are the true holder. And let's read it again. A person shall be deemed to be in possession of goods or of the documented title to goods where the goods or the document are in his actual custody. So if you sign, and remember, I just showed you when you sign, that means to authenticate or to adopt the record. So if you signed a mortgage, a lease, a license, you are in possession. You are the first one to possess that item and the interest in it. Even if a lien creditor ends up with it, you are the first lien. I'm trying to teach you what you may not never be taught nowhere in no school. Okay. And where the goods are in his actual custody or are held in by another person, which could be a lender, subject to your control. That's why every month they're due to you, and you get to control the disposition of how those amounts should be paid. You just ain't doing it because ain't nobody never taught you, right? Disposition by a mercantile agent. Power of a mercantile agent with respects to disposition of goods, where a mercantile agent is with the consent of the owner. So in order for him to what? To do a disposition of goods, he have to have what? He has to have what? In order for them to dispose of your obligation, they gotta have what? Huh? I can't make it up, man. They gotta have your consent. In possession of goods, or of the document of title to goods, any sale, pledge, or other disposition of the goods made by him when acting in the ordinary course of business of a mercantile agent shall, subject to the provisions of this act, be as valid as if he were expressly authorized by the owner of the goods to make the same. So if he bill you every month, he's billing you with your consent. He's basically saying that he has the consent to sell those goods at a later date. If you did not approve for the lender to resell those goods, and those goods were purchased for your personal family and your household benefit, and he's trying to sell them again instead of apply them, and they've already been purchased, You need to dispute his ass. Matter of fact, he need his ass whooped. I'm just gonna be real with you. He need his ass whooped because he's trying to play on your intelligence. I've already bought those goods. Those are consumer goods. They're already in my name. You're trying to collect goods that's already in my name. You're supposed to be applying those goods to me. So that's why you're supposed to be disputing, because he's acting and collecting like you giving him the rights to collect your obligation. You ain't told that mother he can collect your obligation. Did you? Did you write and say, hey, I'm Brother Isaiah, I'm the holder of this note. Upon assigning this note to you, I give you all consent to collect every obligation of my note. Did you write him and tell him that? No, you didn't. Because if you did, he wouldn't have been collecting from you. He'd been collecting directly from the principal. But he's assuming that you're approving for him to collect those amounts at a later date. But I don't believe that that's the reason why you signed that debt instrument, was to approve him to collect it from you. I believe that you were signing it for him to collect it from your account. But somehow he's misrepresenting the nature. Let me show you one more thing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. See, because we don't want to make no mistakes in today's date and time, man. We got to be certain that what we doing is correct. One thing about me, brother, sister, I love my brothers and sisters. I wish y'all love me the same and show me the same love in exchange, and it'll be a great thing between us, because I don't mind teaching you. I don't mind enlightening you on things you need to know. I think that we all should do that to help one another, especially when we got a bunch of crooks running our government. Okay. Now it says a cosigner. Why? This is very important. Why? Because whenever you sign a retail installment contract, whenever you end up in an obligation, whenever you're dealing with a lender in a federal jurisdiction, right? And you receive money, see, debt, you call it debt, but debt is money. Whenever you apply for something, they give you money. They're paying you money, and then you're signing the money over to them, and they're not crediting that money to you every month, even though they supplied you with the money. And then when you sign it and authenticate it and give it to them, they're trying to collect the money. No, mother, you're supposed to be crediting that amount, because the debt is the money, right? So what you're doing, whenever you don't pay my debt for me, I don't receive any earnings. I don't earn nothing on my debt if I don't receive the due balances. If I receive the due balances on the debt, then I'm earning compensation. If I don't receive those pre-scheduled balances that were approved when I signed, then I don't receive any earnings. Why? Because compensation is paid or payable to an individual, or for his or her account, for personal services rendered or to be rendered by him or her. You're the service provider, man. You're the damn service provider. You're the one rendering they can't service you without the taxpayer. Who's the only one that can deliver the taxpayer to somebody? You. Nobody can use that name, number, or information unless you give them consent. So you are the service provider. Believe that. Whether denominated as wages, salary, commission, or bonus, or otherwise, including periodic payments pursuant to a pension, retirement, or disability program. So earnings is the amounts that they got you paying every month. You're earning your earnings by paying directly, right? Not by performance, because if you perform, then you would have earned it by performance, and then you wouldn't have had to pay. Now, this is the part that gets us right here. See, because you're a cosigner. Whether or not your mama taught it to you, whether or not your father taught it to you, whether or not your teacher taught it to you, whether or not you learned this in school or anywhere. If you never heard this before in your life, today will be the first day that you will be broken in. You won't be a virgin anymore. We're going to break you in today. We're going to make sure that you've been penetrated with this truth, so that you can no longer hide behind a lie anymore and say that you don't know the truth. Okay? So a cosigner is a natural person. who renders himself or herself liable for the obligations. See, when it says another person, this can throw you off because you don't know who that person is that it's talking about. But the another person is your legal person, because every man and woman has a legal identity. And legally, we identify as persons, but in reality, we are men and women. But legally, we are persons in the system because we're operating through an accounting, right? So whenever you sign, I just showed you that an account debtor is an account on instruments. It's the name written on accounts in instruments. So whenever you sign your name to an instrument, right, you're signing to be liable for your legal person, which is your legal identity, which is conducive to a U.S. person, right? So you're signing in the name of a U.S. person because he has the same name as you. It's spelled the same and pronounced like yours, and it's also considered as your legal identity. Legally, you get to identify as a U.S. person. That's a benefit that you get to use a U.S. person to legally identify in the system. But you keep binding yourself for the person's obligations that is subjected to you. That person is your payer. That is your taxpayer, right? It says the term shall include any person whose signature is requested as a condition to granting credit to his taxpayer. The taxpayer cannot receive a lease, a mortgage, a license. That legal person cannot receive anything unless you sign and accept liability, that the amount that the obligation transferred to the taxpayer, because you are the representative that approves the taxpayer's obligations. So when you sign, the taxpayer receives credit, right? Check it out. But he can't receive credit without your signature. They need somebody else to guarantee that if the account don't pay, that the person who signed will pay on behalf of the account, because the account is a debtor, right? It's a debtor's account, right? So it says the term shall not include a person whose signature is requested as a condition to granting credit to another person, which is his account, or as a condition or the forbearance on collection of another person's obligation that is in default. This is the same definition that they got in the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act when it says creditor, definition of creditor. This is the same goddamn definition. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me that ain't the same definition that's in the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act when it identifies who the creditor is. It's the exact same definition. I can't make it up. The term shall not include a spouse whose signature is required on a credit obligation to perfect the security interest according to state law. So when your wife signs and they say, hey, we need another signer, and they tell you your wife is a co-signer, that's a damn lie. Only one that can co-sign for the taxpayer is you. You're the only one that can sign for your taxpayer. Can't nobody else co-sign for your taxpayer. Only you can co-sign for the taxpayer. If your wife signed with you, she's signing as a party to help perfect the security interest. She can never be a co-signer for the taxpayer because the co-signer already got a permanent co-signer, which is every man using his identity. You are the only one who can use it. You're the only one that can sign for it. So don't let them trick you when they tell you, hey, we need your wife to sign a co-sign. That's a damn lie. She's perfecting the security interest. She's helping your interest perfect it so you can pay the obligation. So you need somebody else to help give you a better interest rate. So it's just like signing on somebody's credit card and now your credit rating go up. That's exactly what's happening when you get somebody else to sign with you. They use their credit rating to perfect your interest. Okay? Don't allow these people to fool you. Okay? A person who does not receive goods, services, or money in return for a credit obligation does not receive compensation. So if you issue a contract, an agreement, or anything, and you're not credited or you don't receive the due balances for transferring that instrument, you're not credited with every balance in the instrument inapplicable to the terms of the instrument, then you never receive nothing. You ain't never getting, if you got to pay every month, you never got nothing for the pledge. A person is a cosigner. Within the meaning of this definition, whether or not he or she is designated as such on a credit obligation. So that means that everybody dealing with you, dealerships, car places, they already know that you a co-signer. They already know that only persons and entities can enter into contracts, and men and women are the authorized signers for those entities, whether it's an individual, whether it's a corporation, it don't matter. They already know you're a co-signer, man. I'm just trying to help you to build your confidence and belief in what you know to be true and correct. Because a lot of us is not acting on these things because we don't have enough information to prove it as true and correct. We don't know whether or not what we're doing is actually correct, and the information being provided to us is not being given to us in full explanation, and we're not getting the full understanding. So people got partial information. And of course, you can't act on partial information. That's why I'm coming through and dropping the science and asking y'all to share the information out with as many people as y'all know, so other people can be privileged to somebody that's actually trying to help us all. You see what I'm saying? To get out of the conditions that we in. Okay. So let me show you something. So it is an unfair or deceptive cosigner practice. All right. Whenever you do business with any lender, they're supposed to tell you you're a cosigner. All of them, whether it's for a lease, license, mortgage, it don't matter what it's for, right? They're supposed to inform you of your cosigner rights, right? In connection with an extension of credit to consumers and affecting commerce, as commerce is defined in the Federal Trade Commission Act. Now, why does commerce affect consumers? Because commerce deals with security interest claims. When commerce is about lien creditors that basically put liens on your property and stuff. So commerce affects your interest. When they came on this land and started doing commerce, it started affecting the people's interests in all of their affairs. So now we lose our houses, we're losing our farms, we're losing our cars. Why? Because of security interests. Because of security interests. This is why, right? A deceptive act, a practice within the meaning of Section 5 of that act for another lender or an installment seller directly or indirectly to misrepresent the nature or the extent of the cosigner's liability to any person. So whenever they're dealing with a man or a woman, a natural person, and he's acting along with his legal person, his legal identity, they're not supposed to misrepresent you. They're not supposed to make you think that the legal person is you. They're supposed to let you know you're a cosigner for that person. All right, even if it's your legal name, right? An unfair act or practice within the meaning of Section 5 of that act for a lender or a retail installment seller directly or indirectly to obligate a cosigner unless the cosigner is informed prior to becoming obligated, which in the case of an open-end credit shall mean prior to the time that the agreement creating the cosigner's liability for future charges is executed. So before I signed the mortgage and became obligated for the installments on it, before I signed the lease and became obligated for the rents on the lease, right? You're supposed to inform me of my cosigner rights and give me an opportunity to do something. It's just like giving me a summons before I come to court, giving me an opportunity to be heard. Okay, they can't just do what they want to do. Any lender or retail installment seller who complies with the preventive measures in paragraph C of this section does not violate paragraph A of this section. To prevent the unfair, deceptive acts or practices, a disclosure containing a separate document shall be contained in the following statement, and none other shall be given to the cosigner prior to becoming obligated, which in the case of an open-end credit means prior to the time that the agreement creating the cosigner's liability for future charges is executed. So before you become liable to pay any obligation on an instrument, they're supposed to tell you this right here. Notice to the cosigner, you are being asked to guarantee this debt. Did they ever tell you that? Hell no. Think carefully before you do. They never told you to think at all. If the borrower don't pay the debt, damn, I thought I was the borrower. What? You would have to. So you mean to tell me that's another party on this contract with me? Huh? Be sure you can afford to pay. I got damn right I gotta be sure I can afford to pay. Because you try to trick me. If you have to, right? And it says, and pay if you have to, because you don't actually have to pay if you sign right? Right? And that you want to accept this responsibility. See, because you're acting for somebody else. They're supposed to, they can't make you liable for the obligations of an entity or a person or some type of construct without telling you you're becoming liable for that thing. You can't put something in my name and spell it and pronounce it like my name and make me think that's me. That's deception. That's coercion. Y'all never thought we'd figure this out. Y'all must don't know y'all dealing with the people of the creator. Y'all must don't understand who the hell we are. You must don't know who you dealing with. All right. Then it says you may also have to pay late fees or collection costs, which increases this amount. Overpayments. Ain't that what we all paying? Ain't you paying every month? Ain't you paying fees and collection costs and stuff like that? Because they're billing you and then you have to pay and they're collecting that amount from you. That's a collection cost. Collections is billing, late fees, charges that should have never been applied to the account. Because once you issued the note, you issued everything that the account was able to receive to settle the note. If they didn't apply those amounts, then they're basically saying that the payment is late, but the payment can be late if they got the note. The payment and the note come together. So if they're not applying the payments when they're due, they're in breach of contract. That the creditor can't collect this debt from you without first trying to collect from the borrower, right? And then it says the creditor can use the same collection methods against you that can be used against the borrower, such as suing you, right? It's what they do. They sue you. They garnish your wages. If the debt is in default, this fact may become part of your credit report, right? Your is a plural word. It's talking to two or more, right? This notice is not the contract that makes you liable for the debt. So they supposed to give you this, yo. If they don't provide you with that, they ain't breach a contract. Oh man, y'all couldn't even see what I was showing y'all. Oh, man, I thought y'all seen it. Let me go back. My bad. My bad, y'all. I thought y'all seen what I was reading. I just realized that y'all couldn't see it. Okay. So this is the notice right here, right? Notice to the cosigner. See, you are being asked to guarantee this debt. Think carefully before you do. If the borrower does not pay the debt, so that's telling you right then and there that you and the borrower are two different parties, right? Now let's go back up to the top real quick. I just want to show you. All right, so we're dealing with lenders. We're dealing with retail installment sellers. We know what those are. A person. They've been telling us we was a person our whole life. But a person is an individual, a corporation, or a business organization. The key word is conjunction word or other business association. So that means that an individual is a business association and a corporation is also considered as a business association. So don't get confused when we tell you that you are the fiduciary, the administrator, the agent of your person. Even though it's your legal name, it's still a person and you're the one using it. Okay. Now, a consumer is a natural person. So you got person that's an individual, and then you got a natural person also intertwined with an individual. So you got an individual and a natural person acting as an agency together as one entity, okay, who seeks or acquires goods or service or money for personal, family, or household use, right? And then a cosigner is the person who renders themselves liable for the obligations of another person. A natural person who renders himself or herself liable for the obligations of another person. See that? Another person. Let's go back up. Consumer, natural person. Consumer, natural person. person, individual, business organization, person, individual, business organization. Again, person, individual, business organization, consumer, natural person, consumer, natural person. Let's go back down. So a consumer is a natural person who renders himself or herself liable for the obligations of a individual person. Yeah, we got him, y'all. We got him. So you got a natural person, and then you got an individual person, but they're simultaneously wrapped up in one agency. But whenever the natural person signs in his individual name, right, he incurs his individual's obligation. Oh, wow. Damn. So natural persons got individuals, and individuals carry the natural person's obligations. Oh my goodness. Boy, that was a cold demonstration they put together. They some cold demonstrators, boy. But they can't box with God. You hear me? They cannot box with God. Trust me. All right, so y'all go check this out, man. This is a great read right here. This right here, fire. And what I want you to do, because I know a lot of you guys are not going to do this, I'm going to do it for you real quick. Let's pull this up. Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act. All right. Okay, so this is Section 5, United States Federal Trade Commission, Washington, D.C. Statements of enforcement principles regarding unfair methods of competition. Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act declares unfair methods of competition and affecting commerce to be unlawful. 15 USC 45A1. Section 5 bans on unfair methods of competition encompasses not only those acts and practices that violate Sherman or Clayton Act, but also those that contravene the spirit of antitrust laws and those that, if allowed to mature or complete, could violate the Sherman or Clayton Act. Congress chose not to define the specific act and practices that constitute unfair or competition in violation of Section 5, recognizing that the application of the statute would need to evolve with changing markets and business practices. Instead, it left the development of Section 5 to Federal Trade Commission as an expert administrative body, which would apply the statute on flexible case-by-case basis, subject to judicial review. The statement is intended to provide framework for Commission exercise of its standalone Section 5 authority to address acts or practices that anti-competitive but may not fall within the scope of the Sherman or the Clayton Act. In deciding whether to challenge an act or practice as unfair method of competition in violation of Section 5 standalone basis, the Commission adheres to following principles. The Commission will be guided by the public policy underlying the antitrust laws, namely the promotion of consumer welfare, and the act's practices will be evaluated under the framework similar to the rules and reasons that is an act practice challenged by the Commission must cause or be likely to cause harm to competition or competitive process, taking into account any associated cognizable efficiency in business justification. All right, so let me go back real quick. All right, y'all. So let me stop right there. So it's unfair deceptive act practice for anybody to receive consumers' goods and not pay the due balance on that contract against the consumer's obligation. The due balance that you owe is the balance that the lender promised you. So you can't pay the due balance without the lender's promise. It's a reciprocal promise, meaning he's promising due balances. You're accepting and agreeing to repay the same balances back to him. So tendering the instrument back is a tender of payment, meaning that, let me show you real quick, because you got to understand when you tender payment, what tender is. All right. All right. So let me all right, let me share my screen. I hope y'all sharing out the live, liking. Make sure you subscribe. This is your first time, so you will be informed anytime that we decide to go live here. Right. All right. So I want to show you something, and I'm gonna get ready to get up off of here. Right. So we're talking about legal tender. Now, what I'm telling you is that when you sign a contract and you give that contract to the lender, that is considered as legal tender, meaning that you're tendering not just the principal instrument, but you're also tendering all the unpaid interest that's accumulating on that principal instrument to be paid by the lender at a later date. If he bills you rather than apply the balance, that's a billing error. Okay, understand that you've already tendered payment. You apply, you got approved for the payment, received it, and then tender it. If he doesn't apply the full balance of your payment and try to collect portion of your payment rather than apply the full balance, that's an adverse action. That is a contract error. Okay. In legal terms, a tender refers to the formal offer made by a party to fulfill their obligations under the contract, such as paying a due balance to a lender. This act of tendering payment is crucial as it establishes the buyer's readiness to meet their contractual obligations, which can affect the rights and the duties of both parties involved in the contract. Understanding tender in a contract law. Tender plays a significant role in contractual arguments, especially regarding payments. A tender is a formal offer to perform a contractual obligation, such as making a payment, right? Legal implications. Proper tender protects the buyer or the payer from liability for non-performance, right? So when you tender payment, they can't say you didn't perform on the obligation. If the other party refuses to accept payment, right? Condition, tender of payment must be made at the agreed time and place to be valid. Effects on obligations. A valid tender can relieve the payer from further obligations if the other party wrongfully refuse it. So if I tender a lease to a leasing company at the time when I received it, and my lease was scheduled for due rents on specific due dates, and I tendered the lease and the scheduled rents to the lender, and he accepted the lease with the scheduled rents in it, he was not accepting to just collect the rents. He was accepting a tender of payment, meaning I tendered that to him. That was a deposit of an instrument with a stated value to be applied at a later date. If the lender misrepresents the tender, he's going to treat it as if he's receiving that tender to collect the rents rather than receiving that tender as a tender of payment of rents, so that when the rents become available and applicable toward the lease, then he has my authority to apply them because my signature has already been authenticated in approving the balances and tendering that amount by transferring it to the lender. Once he signs and accepts that instrument, he accepts all liability of performance under the agreement. Just like when you sign the lease, you were agreeing to pay rents. When you tender the lease with the rents, with your approval on it, with your authentication on it, and then the lender receives that lease and signs and accepts it, he's agreeing to provide the rents as scheduled. It's a reciprocal promise. He promised to give you rents, you accept, and then you tendered the rents and he accept, and he promised to apply those rents for you as part of your agreement. It's a reciprocal agreement, meaning both of y'all are dependent on each other to consummate the contract. Okay. Once he receives your approval of those rents that they can be applied, then his job is to apply each and every rent schedule in accordance to his extension of credit and give you a reduced balance with him month to month, as long as you accept using the rents provided in his agreement. And then it is considered as a contract. A contract is a reduced balance that has been accepted. Okay. With that said, man, I'm going to bring this one to a finalization, closure. I really appreciate you guys tuning in with me, man, and building with Brother Isaiah. Like I said, I will be coming back. Man, like I said, I got tons of. If you think that this was good, you just don't know. I got tons and tons of information over it. All right. I'm talking about undeniable information, and my explanation and my mindset and the way that I break this stuff down is unmatched, man. It's unmatched. So do yourself a favor and tap in with us, build with us, join our community. We have Telegram groups. We got other type of programs that you can join in and start learning with us, man. Get you a mentorship. Get you some type of way to interact with the brother, so you can start learning certain things. I mean, I put a lot of information online, but it's a lot of stuff I'm not gonna put up here. There's certain information that I'm never gonna put up here. I mean, I put enough up here for you to learn, for you to understand what's going on with your bills and your contracts and stuff like that. But it's other information. You're not gonna get that. Not on this live, not on public record. I'm not even though it's public information. I found it. So it's my information because I found it. And I'm not putting it out publicly. If you want that, you got to come into the private sector to get that kind of information because that's exclusive. Okay. Let me see what y'all saying. There's a maximum of a law that states that who can be fooled, let him be fooled. So study, study, study. and stand on your square and show thyself approved. Yeah. Ain't no doubt about it. It appears that the rents are to be given to the man and woman, extending the credit to begin with. Absolutely, most definitely. Peace and love, peace and love. Private landlords, how do they get paid if we are receiving rents? Well, the way your landlord gets paid is the rents that he's receiving are interest payments. He's not receiving cash. Cash is a promise to pay. All right. If you use Federal Reserve notes, a check, anything like that, you're making a promise to pay. When you pay rents, meaning you're paying directly through utilization of the amounts that have been transferred to you through the lease. The lease is a transfer of rents. In order for you to owe rents, you got to have a lease in your possession. Remember what we read earlier? It says that the person in possession of the instrument has the absolute rights to the amount stated in the instrument. You have the rights to enforce the note. When you applied for a loan, you was applying for a lease. A lease is a loan of rents. Why do you think you put in an application for it? You just applied for a lease? No, a lease is a loan. It's a loan agreement. What is the lease loaning you? Rents. Why would you need rents? Because the landlord want to be paid in rents. Okay. So when you say, well, how do you pay the landlord? What do you think the landlord does with the lease? Answer the question. What do you think he do? What does the landlord do with the lease? What does the leasing company do with the lease when you give it to them? Huh? What they do with it? Huh? It's a financial asset. They pretty much deposit it with a financial institution in order to collect the item, to give them consent or the rights to collect on it. They take that lease and they file that lease with the United States Treasury. Why? Because the United States guarantees interest in principal. So if they issue principal to you and they have a right to interest on the principal and you defaulted, they can go to the government and show that you defaulted and the government can bill you through that institution and tell you to pay what you owe them. Why? But by billing you through the institution, all the institution got to do is report you for non-payment. All they got to do is report that we gave him principal. He did not pay the interest on the principal. They can report that to the government, and then the government can start billing you for non-payment directly through the same institution that approved you. So the same one that approved you for the amounts is the same one that will collect non-payment from you because you didn't pay it. So now they get to collect it. It's called an offset. Offset is when they get to collect the balance of the agreement that has not been paid. Okay. Right. So transfer of rents having the rights to be enforced, force the loan, take it to the bank. Yeah, I mean, pretty simple. You get approved for a lease. Once you sign it, it becomes a promise, your promise to pay rents. Now that lease is a promissory note. You can assign that to your bank for collection and payment. You can say you can do an assignment of rights to your bank as your agent. You can sign all my rights to Bank of America as my agent, and this assignment shall be for all amounts due in the lease to Bank of America. And then you get your landlord information, his bank account number, his routing number, and you give them the EFT information and tell them to process the rent payments directly to his account. That's how you do it. You do an assignment of rights. An assignment, right? You got the rights to assign any contract, right? Why would you not assign a contract? Let me show you. Y'all better wake up and start and doing some. Y'all just don't get it, man. Y'all don't get it. Y'all do not get it. So y'all, this is it right here, y'all. This is it. I'm gone after this, man. Y'all have to tap in with me. Y'all want to learn some more about anything that I'm presenting, man. But I'm showing y'all some information. But if you want to know more about what I'm presenting, you have to tap in. Check this out. All right, check this out. Subject to the provisions of this title, parents shall have the attributes of personal property. A patent and trademark office shall maintain a register of interest in patents and applications for patents, and shall record any document related thereto upon request, and may require a fee thereof. Applicants for patents, and any interest therein shall be assignable in law by an instrument in writing. An applicant, patentee, or his assigns or legal representatives may in a like manner grant and convey an exclusive right under his application for patent, a patent or patents to be to the whole of any specific part of the United States, a certificate of acknowledgement under the hand of an official seal of a person authorized to administer oaths within the United States or a foreign country of a diplomatic consular office of the United States, or a officer authorized to administer oaths whose authority is proven by a certificate of diplomatic or consular officer of the United States, an apostille of an official designated by a foreign country, which by treaty or convention accords like effects to apostles of designated officials in the United States shall be prima facie evidence of execution of assignment, grant, or convey of patent or application. So what this means, you can do an assignment of an instrument, take it to the Secretary of State, have it certified or apostille, right? In order to get an official seal on it, in order to assign it. Because when the Secretary of State uh put a seal on the face of the instrument, they say what it's for. So if the instrument is an assignment of rights, the seal that the secretary is going to put on the face of it is going to say assignment of rights. See what I'm saying? So that seal is very, very powerful from the Secretary of State's office. All right. Show y'all one more thing. All right. Let me find another one. Rights of assignment method, except as in paragraph B of this section. Nah. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna stop right here because this thing is pretty much doing what they want to do. But anyway, I'm out of here, y'all. I really appreciate the time tuning in with me and whatever, tapping in. Hopefully, you learned something new that you can use for your personal, your family, your household benefit. I will be having some webinars coming up soon, man. Many different topics. Ain't no telling what I might be talking about credit. I might be talking about bank security. I might be talking about secure deposits. I might be talking about negotiable instruments, processing payment. You never know what Brother Isaiah I might be talking about purchases off a dealership, how to go purchase goods, how to pay using credit rather than using cash. You never know what I might be teaching on. So make sure you tap in. I show you enough information to show you where my mindset is so you can know what type of brother you're dealing with and where my level of understanding is so you can understand who I am. So you don't think that I'm trying to pull your leg or anything like that because I show you enough information in order for you to learn on your own. You have to actually study. A lot of you guys, I can show you guys all this information and you still won't get it. still be lost, still be confused because you're not studying enough and the information is not resonating with you properly because you haven't put in enough work in order for it to make sense. So it's just like anything else in life, man. The more you apply it, the easier it becomes as time go on. So the more and more you put into this, the more you get out of it. And with that said, man, I'm gonna leave y'all as I always do in love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality for us all. You guys have a blessed, a wonderful day. If you want to learn more about anything that I'm teaching over here, you want to learn more about anything that I've went into, or if you got any questions, or you want to get a little bit more detail on some of the topics that I've covered today, or are you curious about more about the topics in order to help you get a better understanding, tap in with me. You can go to buildingbetterminds.info. You can get a consultation with me and we can go over some of the things, or you can get a coaching where we can go on a live video. You can record the video. I can show you the things that you need to know. I can point you in the right directions. You always have that video to reference as a reference point. You can always go back. You can always go look up the codes, the statutes, or anything that I provide to you to help you deal with the situation at hand that you're dealing with. So if you're interested in any of our services, if you would like to just build commodity with us, make sure you go to Building Better Minds, sign up, become a member on our website. That way, when we do uh, vast or large emails about any of our programs or anything we got going on, you'll be privileged to receive an email update about anything that we got going on. So you'll always know when we got an event, or we traveling, or we doing anything that we doing here at Building Better Minds. You will always be properly informed and notified of any of our current events. Thank you guys again for being here, because you could have been anywhere else doing anything else, but you decided to be here with me to listen to what I had to present, and I truly appreciate it. I hope that you gain something, and that every time you come on this channel, that you always leave with your cup pouring over, because that's what we're here for. Each one, teach one. Salute to all my real ones.